Well, the Gulf Western Oils Touring Car Masters about to start their 100th round here on the streets of Adelaide. Started back in 2007. And Ryan Hansford will start out a pole position alongside Adam Garwood, with John Bowe, Ryle Harris and Adam Bressington amongst the top 5. Marcus Sukanovic also inside the top 10. Andrew Fisher will start from 13th place. Leighton Barker and Richard Craill. The big story here is the XD Falcon of Stephen Johnson starting from the tail of the field.
Yeah, and peeling off into pit lane is the also brand new VB Commodore. They've been battling with fuel pressure issues in that car. It's been leaning out, so Jared McLeod bailing out of this one to make sure that that car's okay.
A live test session for him today as we get underway for the first points pain race of the year, and they fan out to 3 and 4 wide into the centre chicane. Bowe makes contact into Garwood, hits the gravel trap. Hansford's also involved. 3 cars in the gravel trap, and the top 3 contenders, OUT.
He got a great start and went down the inside and just did not get the car slowed down enough, and Adam Garwood had nowhere to go and found a Torana crunching into his rear quarter. Will go safety car straight away. Adam Bressington from 5th on the grid finds himself in front. Ryle Harris is second with damage on the right front corner of the EFS Camaro. What a way to start the season. But it never looked like that Torana was going to stop into the centre chicane.
Adam Garwood, that would have frightened the daylights out of him. Into the gravel trap. There's plenty of gravel there, but it's a very short runoff. And 3 key contenders beached in the centre chicane, not even 300 metres old into the new season.
And Ryan Hansford, who did such a brilliant job in qualifying yesterday to score his 2nd career TCM pole, smashed the TCM quali record by a second. So Bowe right of screen, black and yellow Torana down the inside, grabs both front brakes. The car's locked up, and Adam Garwood gets turned around and dumped unceremoniously into the gravel trap at the centre chicane. This from Jim Pollicina.
So he could see it all happening ahead, and there's just smoke screens. Even Cam Tilley was locked up. He gives Tilley a nudge for good measure. He got away with it. Hansford was so unlucky there because he had nowhere to go regardless. Here it is in slow-mo. So the yellow and blue Torana is in the middle of that shot. Bowe comes in with a full head of steam straight into Garwood. And look at Hansford. He can drive as far as he likes, but he's got nowhere to go except the gravel trap.
Ryan's start wasn't good. He was worried about being beaten into turn 1 by Adam Garwood, who's got bigger capacity, more horsepower in the number 85 White Line Racing Chevy Camaro. But his launch wasn't particularly good in the multi-spares Torana anyway. And Bowe went down the inside. But, gee, we've been talking about this drive to 100 race wins in TCM. You can't win a race on lap 1, unfortunately. It happens on, in this case, lap 10. And as a result, he's bunkered in the gravel trap. Adam Garwood, who's been terrific all weekend. Young Tasmanian is stuck down there as well.
What a shame for Bowe, stuck in the gravel. 99 wins, not out at the moment. He's in the gravel. We're under safety car here on the streets of Adelaide. Race number 1, the Gulf Western Touring Car Masters. And that is going to be a long process getting the 18 out. They are deep gravel traps here. They've been here for many, many years. The hard-working team that work behind the scenes at the Superloop Adelaide 500 have got 3 customers right now down there in the chicane, Crowlsey.
He got a very, very good start from the 3rd row of the grid and went down the inside and saw the opportunity. But from the moment those both front wheels locked when he applied the brakes to the run into the centre chicane, the car just went straight ahead, and Adam Garwood, who was tipping in, thinking his way was clear and that Ryan Hansford was well behind him, found a Torana parked in the door of the White Line Racing Chevy, and that's a wing mirror, I think, coming off the Camaro, perhaps, as it gets turned around. And this is Jim Pollicina's view. Just at the back half of the top 10, Cameron Tilley, just got a little bit of a nudge, I think, from Jim, but nothing in that. Just everybody checking up, staggering. This is the shot that Race Control will look at and decide that it's not a particularly good look indeed, as the Torana with both front brakes locked. Of course, when the front wheels aren't turning, there's no steering. The car isn't going to turn into the corner. And poor Adam Garwood gets hustled off the road. And just the collateral damage for the EFS Camaro behind, I think that was in all the mess of everybody sorting themselves out. Just got some grazing damage there, and poor old Ryan Hansford just trying to avoid that after a slow start.
Oh, no.
Got caught in there as well. Oh, this isn't good.
Now, the tractor might be getting towed out of here in a second. He's in the middle of trying to pull the Hansford Torana out without hitting the back of the Painter Dixon Torana as well.
I think they're making some progress. pretty good ad for how deep the gravel is down there at the centre chicane. Wow. Well, that gravel trap is there for that reason, because it's such a high-speed approach and a big stop, and when something goes wrong, you want something to slow the cars down. There it goes.
He's got it done now. So while the safety car is out here, we'll take a look at last year's incidents, and there was plenty to talk about in season 2019 of the Touring Car Masters that started right here in Adelaide with Leo Tobin glancing the wall once on the left-hand side, but really hard on the right-hand side.
Yeah, it was that second impact that was the worst one for Leo, who's back in the field this weekend, scored 13th at the moment.
Aaron McGill.
Oh, this was the moment of the year, wasn't it? In the first race, somehow managed to drag that back from the abyss. This not so much for Andrew Fisher, who had a pretty rotten year, crash, that amazing finish at Winton, see that in a sec, and a whole array of engine dramas in the GTHO as well.
That's been a great track for him over the years, Andrew Fisher. This is the big one down at Phillip Island with Rob Hackwood, who was helicoptering, if that's a word, down the back straight, getting connected with Ryle Harris. And it shows you the speed these cars carry at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. Lucky not to have more cars in, several cars taking to the grass on the right-hand side.
Just check the Oxford Dictionary, helicoptering, that works, it's okay.
Okay, cool.
And another great job to get that car repaired. This was the finish we all talked about all season long, the end of the trophy race in the rain at Winton. Neither driver knew it was the last lap of the race. They were dicing for position, and Bruce Williams created Air Holden, Air Tirana.
Incredible.
Yeah, amazing finish. The closest winning margin for Andrew Fisher in the history of the Gulf Western Oil Touring Car Master Series.
I know we laugh at it, but that could have been really bad.
Yeah, it could. We made light of it when we knew everyone was okay, as you often do in moments like that. Big spin, that was Adam Garwood. This was his first weekend, or second weekend, I should say, in the 85 car for White Line Racing. After a competitive weekend at Queensland Raceway, Danny Pasadzik was in the mix, at Chevy Monza. We'll see that car again with Ben Dunn later on this season. It's a cool addition to the grid. And then how about this one?
Alan Bougen, the longest Touring Car Masters entry we have, getting sent exit stage right at the start of the trophy race up there at QR last year. Watching the right-hand side, scattering the polystyrene signs, and found the tyre wall, but managed to continue on in the race.
It's a remarkable story. One of many, it must be said, in what was a pretty remarkable year.
What a weapon
for Touring Car Masters. And I know Al Bougen and his team are watching from home up in Queensland, so we wish them well. And then the final round of the year at the great Sandown International Raceway, and poor old Cameron Tilley just had the lose on the exit of turn one in really greasy conditions. Looped the Anglemoil Pacer, and Rob Hackwood found himself with nowhere to go. Big damage to the point where the repair was only completed Sunday night for Cameron Tilley to get it back on track.
Well, John Bowes back on track, but damage to his right front, and he'll be heading back to the pits. We'll do the same with Andy Jones.
Gents, I thought I'd just grab Rusty French, part owner at Tickford Racing, but also part-timer in the TCM, mate. You've got a beautiful Mustang. You're not out there this weekend. What was your take on that incident at the start of this race?
Look, I think, Andrew, the problem we have with this category is a lot of guys are driving these cars a little bit too hard. There's plenty of room there. They're great cars, great to drive. But the trouble is, like in that incident there, it appears from what I saw that the Monaro with Garwood was in, had the line. Bowie's tried to get up the inside. There was nowhere to go, and it's taken them both out. And of course, what happens here, we all work our butts out to get our cars here to do an 8-lap race. We've now lost 4 laps, so it's disappointing.
It certainly is disappointing. It's great that you're able to share those thoughts with us, mate. You're normally in and amongst it, so who better to comment on that stuff than you? Thanks, Rusty.
Thank you.
You've called pretty much this entire series over the last 13 years. What's your thoughts?
Oh, look, it happens, doesn't it? Rush of blood to the head, turn one, opening lap, brand new championship season. You want to try and win the first race of the year to kick things off, especially when you're a championship contender. I agree with what Rusty French said there. For what it's worth, his opinion means a whole lot more than mine does, Matt. But yeah, I agree with that. I don't think Adam Garwood had any clue that there was going to be a Tirana there. He was looking at Ryan Hansford, who was alongside him on the grid. He thought he was clear, could turn in, and JB came from the third row of the grid. Accidents happen, don't they? Unfortunate, but that's the way it is.
Safety car still on the track here in race number 1 of the Gulf Western Oils Touring Car Masters, the 100th round, kicking off where it all started here. on the streets of Adelaide. We're still retrieving the Adam Garwood car off the circuit. We've got John Bowe out of the gravel now, but now Adam Garwood's the next customer. Here's what happened if you just joined our coverage. The run to turn number 1. Watch the black and white Torana locked up into the Tasmanian. The pole sitter was also involved in this, and we know the centre chicane is tight enough in a single row, Krause.
The series this year's got a brand new driver standards observer, Daryl McHugh. He's a very experienced guy in race control. Super 3 series last year amongst a whole heap of others. He's looking after Trans Am this weekend too. He's going to get put to the test very early to make a determination on that after this race. It won't be applied during the race because both of the cars involved are obviously out of contention, but this is why people get paid the bucks to sit in race control and work out issues like this, and the volunteers that work in there as well have to contribute as well.
John Bowe, we never like to see race cars torn up, mate. That was a bit of a nasty incident to start that race. Just talk us through your view on it.
Well, I think it was my fault, mate. I got down there, I got a good start. I got down the inside, but I was on the dirty side of the road, and I locked the front brakes. So unfortunately, I mean, if you make a blue, you make a blue, and I made a blue. I was probably in too deep for the condition of the road, so I then caused the demise of the other 2 cars, which I don't like doing. But it is what it is. I'm sorry to the other guys that were involved.
Really appreciate your honesty there, JB. A little bit of damage to this beautifully turned out Torana. All the best for this afternoon.
Okay, thanks, mate.
With over 4 decades of experience, that's the exact response we were expecting for JB. Thanks to Andy Jones down in the pits.
Well, it takes a big man to own up to an error like that, doesn't it? That's caused the demise of other competitors in the race, as JB alluded to. So, well done, John. You've got to say that's an outstanding response. Owned it, move on, and I'm sure he'll go and apologise to Adam and indeed Ryan, who was caught up in that during the accident. And unfortunately for the Painted Dixon Torana, quite a lot of damage. The right front corner of that's got a lot of camber on it, so there's some suspension dramas. But this team, headed up by Gary O'Brien, well and truly equipped to rebuild the car overnight, and be good to see John Bowe back on the racetrack tomorrow.
I'll be back tomorrow, part of the Superloop Adelaide 500. Well, we'll check in with Jim Policina's Mocon McDonald's Torana. He had a bit of a moment yesterday during our qualifying session to set the grid for this race. Here's what it looked like going through turn number 8. It got sideways. We caught the tail end originally from it, and it close to you like just squaring off the wall here.
The track has been slick all weekend long, Matt, hasn't it? And cars and sliding. There was a tiny little scrape of the left rear quarter panel of a Holden Torana, and probably that flare giving it a bit of extra track in the rear end, just scraped along the wall. Great save, good bit of driving. And Jim's in terrific form at the moment. Brilliant drive to 3rd in the trophy race earlier on this morning. Works well when you put the onboard camera in the car and it's the one delivering all the environment as well. And he's 4th on the road at the moment, so the demise of some of the leading contenders has got him right in the mix for this one when we go back to green.
There's a few names that have managed to sneak up into the top 5. How about this car, car 17, that makes its debut and its first ever racing laps, or testing laps, at the iconic Lakeside Raceway up in Queensland in the lead up to the Superloop Adelaide 500. Stephen Johnson, defending champion, debuting this car, and this is like the dawning of a new era, isn't it?
Or messy restart. I think some were expecting it to be 2x2 and some were not, so it'd be interesting. Oh, they give it green. That's another thing they're going to have to look at back in race control. It turns out that Adam Bressington is going to be miles in front of Jason Gomersall when they get down to turn 1. Different
angle of the centre chicane as it goes downhill into the trouble zone that caused the incident on lap number 1. So Adam Bressington leads Jason Gomersall up Wakefield Street. Cam Tilley and Jim Policina are next, with Paul Freestone and Cameron Mason the top 6. This is like a trophy race.
Yeah, it is. It's wilder than a trophy race, and they're usually the crazy ones. Roll Harris getting through up the inside at turn 4, so he is on the lead lap. Looks like that damage in the right front corner has removed itself. There's Cameron Tilley, the Anglemore Valiant pacer. Oh, big slide, exit turn 7, and he'll get gobbled up by Jim Policina here. The Valiant's been going really well this weekend, but they're massively struggling for brakes now. They've got it handling well, it's got plenty of grunt, they're just struggling to get the thing slowed down.
So Policina gets that spot after the moment through turn number 7 for the pacer, and now Paul Freestone buys into it. Got more action behind with Dean Lilly, who won the trophy race. Looking for the move down the inside of Andrew Fisher, and the Falcon has to get up on the big curbs at the bottom of the Kettleville Terrace. Couldn't get the job done there. And and now works his way around. Lap 6 of 10. Got a feeling we might go 1 or 2 laps short in this race.
Great bit of driving from Andrew Fisher, just to see that Torana emerging quickly down the inside. Nice bit of driving, Andrew Fisher, who we mentioned earlier had a horrific year last year. They've been battling power steering issues in the Jesus Racing car all weekend long. And actually in the trophy race today, they pitted halfway through, snapped the power steering belt off to see how it performed without power steering, because they were battling so much with it. And I think it looks like it's going all right at the moment.
Now that is old school.
Yeah.
Lap 7 of 10. Mason on the back of Paul Freestone at turn number 4. That's 9 proceedings just ahead. Bressington, the fastest man on the circuit now, with 1 second back to Gomersall, and Pollicina a further 2.1 away in the next of the Toranas, running in 3rd position.
So turn 6, turn 7. This is the big slide for the vastly experienced Sydney sider from the Northern Beaches. Glennon Transport, KG Catering on board as well, new sponsor this weekend.
It's the dust on the track that unsettled him, and he just kept the rear of this car off the concrete. It was getting higher on the curb, could it?
Yeah, it was turning in. It was very late to get the car turned in, and it looked like it understeered. So how do you cure understeer? Don't go head first in, back it in instead.
So coming around to start the final lap of this safety car polluted race 1 of the Gulf Western Oils Touring Car Masters, the 100th round of this series that is strong as always in season 2020. We watch Mason, Freestone snap sideways for a moment in the centre chicane, but Adam Bressington looking good here with 1.7 seconds to lead.
4 race wins to his credit in TCM. Last one came at Newcastle in 2018. Very strong season last year in the top 5 in the championship outright again for White Line Racing. At the moment, Bresso's only got a part-time campaign this year on the hunt for some sponsorship dollars. So what better way to build the campaign and try and get people on board than go out and win races from the outset?
Oh, it's a great addition to the series several years ago with the White Line Racing team. And now staring down the barrel of another victory with just a handful of turns remaining. Jason Gomersall, he'll be stoked with this result in 2nd position. In the Muscle Car Warehouse entry, Lilly down the inside of Mason. He's trying the 2-for-1 here and probably missed out on both.
Yeah, do you get the feeling he had to think about that right at the start, and then in the end he said, I don't think so, Tim, and backed right out of it in the end. What a great drive this is for Adam Bressington, though. It'll be win number 5 in TCM.
And what a result it'll be. We didn't get the full complement of laps in after that shunt in turn number 1, but Adam Bressington will chalk up the first race victory of season 2020 in the Gulf Western Oils Touring Car Masters on the streets of Adelaide. It's on still for the minor positions. Keep an eye on Mason and Lilly to the finish line. Give it to Lilly by a car length.
He is racy today. What a weekend this is turning out to be for Dean Lilly. Ravage Raceworks presenting some very good cars. Jim Pollicina, his teammate, 3rd. Great win, Adam Bressington. Local team, White Line Racing. They're based 15 minutes from where we're racing right now. Bob and Sharon Middleton, who have been at this game for a long time, will be thrilled with that one.
Yeah, no question about that. Adam Bressington from Jason Gomersall. Pollicina 3rd, Cameron Tilley, Paul Freestone, Dean Lilly home for 6, hitting the top 10 today.
Terrific job, Stephen Johnson in the 10th. First race for New True Blue on its debut in Touring Car Masters.
Andrew Fisher, Peter Burnett, Leo Tobin, Leighton Barker, Ryan Hansford, after being caught up in the skirmish down at the chicane, a couple of laps down with Adam Garwood. The highlights, well, it took just under 400 metres for the first incident of season 2020 in the Gulf Western Oils Touring Car Masters, and it involved a multi-time series champion.
And to his eternal credit, mea culpa for that after the race. Owned it. John Bowe, unfortunately, into the door of Adam Garwood, said that was my error. The net result was that Garwood and indeed Ryan Hansford deposited into the gravel trap at turn 1 and turn 2. A little bit of damage for Roel Harris, so it was actually he contacting the Painter Dixon Torana that caused damage to the Chevy Camaro. A lengthy safety car, a recovery, and then we went back to racing, and when we did, it was pretty exciting.
Took a few laps while we retrieved all the cars out of the centre chicane. Great work by our team here at the Adelaide Street Circuit to get all the cars out and back mobile. John Bowe was the only one not to take the restart when we did go racing once again, but there'll be a question mark on how this start was taken because several cars were out of line here.
Yeah, they'll be diving into the rule book about how that formation was due to be and when the lights went out on the safety car as well. Anyway, at the moment, Adam Bressington will be recorded as the winner. Huge moment here for Cameron Tilley, who was running 3rd at the time, was gobbled up by Jim Pollicina. And then this, towards the end, Dean Lilly charging his way through the field and ultimately got himself into the top 5.
Dean Lilly fought right to the end to finish in 6th position. But Adam Bressington collects the first race win of the season. The Gulf Western Oils Touring Car Masters here on the streets of Adelaide.